Do, 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 do.
We don't have any attendee. Oh, one attendee now.
There we go. Bray's, you see that Bray's an attendee right now.
Yep, I'm gonna promote Bray.
Yep.
And also Tom.
Okay.
At least we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Oh, there's Kristen.
Yay.
Wow.
Oh, I like the tie better, Tom.
Wait, what happened?
Well, Tom's default picture is him in a suit and tie.
I see.
All right, take it away, Bruce.
Okay, this is the September 14th regular Conservation Commission meeting. The host is Larry Dunn. If there are any attendees that would like to speak during the public communications portion of this meeting, do so by raising your hand digitally, and the chairman will call on you. Other than that, for the members, just remember to say your name. Everybody vote verbally, and with that, you can start the meeting, Larry.
Thank you. All right, so September 14th, we'll do the roll call. So let's start. Larry Dunn, Chairman. Michelle.
Michelle Fitzpatrick.
Ann.
Chris Dante.
And Schmidt.
Kristen.
Kristen Dante here.
Tom. Tom, your mic is off.
Tom Olson.
There you go. And Bray. He's,
Already said it.
oh, all right. All right. Next is the approval of minutes. And should we bring them up, or does someone
Yeah, bring them
have-
up.
All right, hold on. Let me get back to this. Where's share? There's share. And
Happened.
okay. So that's the agenda. So the first one is the July 6th meeting.
I lost my screen here.
No, I brought up the share, so you got to look at, there's a sidebar.
No, everything's gone.
Huh?
Hang on, don't worry. Go ahead. Oh, there we go.
We still see you.
Okay, this is messed up on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's a
Chair,
little-
member,
little-
Bray Rafferty,
yeah.
members, chair, it's all a little whacked out up there.
Yeah, the names are fine. It's just kind of just take away the bold stuff.
Well, no, it's not correct because the chair is now Larry Dunn.
Right.
Well, no, but he's
It
got
needs to be-
members.
Yeah.
I know, but it needs to be the chair's Larry and then the Bray's under the members.
Yep.
It just has to be fixed. That's all.
Yep. All right, anything else?
I have one item on the in paragraph IV-.6 open space plan. In the very last line where B Reynolds, member of the Trail Coordinating Task Force, the Tri-Town Trail is not hyphenated. It's just Tri-Space Town Trail.
Any other comments? I'll call for a motion on the July 6th minutes.
This is Tom
With
Olson. I
amendments?
move that we accept the minutes with the 2 minor corrections.
Second,
Ray, second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, accepted. There's no nays and no abstentions, if I did the count right. All right, so let's moving right along to the July 22nd one. July 22nd. All right, I got that up. So that looks fine. And again, I didn't spot anything per se.
There.
I move we accept the minutes as presented for July 22nd.
Second, Kristen.
Ann gets to do it next time. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, passed. And the August 3rd meeting.
This is Tom Olson. I have one comment in section V or 5, report of chairman. The next to the last line says that some potential homeless action is present. It should be homeless activity is present on the town-owned first plan property.
Yeah.
It's
Yep. Oh, good catch. All right. All right. Any other comments? Looking for a motion on the August 3rd minutes.
Tom Olson, I move we accept the minutes with the one correction.
And
Move to second it.
okay. I assume no discussions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Everyone verbally and raise their hands. Great. All right. So that's a little later. All right. Public communications. I don't think we have any public. Is that correct?
Yes, I am not seeing any public.
All right.
As of
Well,
right
I
now.
guess we can. Did we get any? I'm trying to remember. Did we get any memos from the public? I know we did last time.
I didn't
I
receive
think
any
the
this
public's
time.
been on vacation a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't see any either. All right, so we'll just move along. All right, now we get into the business. Now the conservation plan update, we allowed for comments through the end of September. Bruce, have you received any comments to date?
Not official comments. We did have a planning and zoning commission meeting last week. There were a few comments from some of the commission members, but mostly they were just preliminary, and a couple just said it was too long, and a couple other comments like that, but they're still working their way through it. And we should have comments for the October meeting on that. We're gonna help try to facilitate all the comments, and I'm gonna put together one memo from them and address it to
All right,
the commission.
so we'll address it in our our October meeting. This year is it's just blazing by. All right, so given
Larry,
that,
this
Yep.
is, yeah, Michelle, along those lines, I haven't done any updates on the pictures, and Tom, I did find the email with your feedback on the updates to the maps, but I figured I'd wait until all the comments are in to see if there's any additional things we want to do with the maps based on the comments.
all right, well, that actually was my next question to you and to Tom, is for the next iteration, obviously any comments, and I'm now kind of lost track. Is there any activity or work that needed to be done on the current version, exclusive of any comments we may get, other than what you just said, Michelle?
Yeah, just as far as I know, now that I'm thinking about it, if I end up being gone for all of October, I may try to do it before I leave then. So, yeah, so I know I have an update to do on the map with the greenways. So if I end up getting because if we go to Hawaii, it's gonna be for 5 weeks. So if I end up getting that trip, I'll fix the map before I go.
All right, and the inventory, is there anything missing on the inventory?
that's what I thought, if we might get comments on, it might be on that. So, but
Right.
that's a spreadsheet. So we'll be able to fix that, on a computer. It's just the maps I wouldn't be able to do.
Okay. All right, Tom, from your perspective?
The only comments I've had right now is doing with the potential expansion of the on the western green belt to go vertical, coming out around the Birch Plain Creek area to connect Birch Plain and the Kalinowski School straight down through Birch Plain Creek area and into the city's Birch Plain Creek Conservation Area, to add an extension of the green belt along that corridor. So that's the only comment that I've received. And I passed that along to Michelle as far as when she's updating the maps. So that's the only, from a text perspective, I've not seen anything that would cause any change in the text, just in that one map.
All right.
This is Michelle. So Tom, is that in addition to the other
Yes.
changes you get sent?
Yeah, that's an addition.
And did you send me another version with that on it?
I have not,
Okay.
but I will take an action to provide that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
and if you add it to the one you already sent me, then I just need to use that new one instead of trying to do two
Yeah.
different ones.
Okay, no problem. I'll take an action to provide that.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to make sure everybody was aware that there was a comment about that, and if anybody had real issues with adding that section. It's really just going through, like the Kalinowski area. It's just connecting parcels that we already are basically town property already and identified as open spaces.
Yes, sounds reasonable.
Question? All right,
All right.
Ray has a comment.
So let's see. So then, I'm sorry.
can I ask a question for Tom?
Sure.
Is the Kanaski property that you're talking about, is that everything else but the school? Or are you talking about the new piece of property that's right behind the school where the wet area is that we are recently?
What's happened here is if you go to the town website, I'll see if I can bring that up and put it into a share here. But what the lady that does all the GIS work has actually taken and identified the areas at the Kalinowski School that were put as part of the easement when they shifted split the property to identify areas here. Let me see if I can get this as a share screen here. And share number one. Okay, this property right here is the Kalinowski School. The whole school goes all the way around here. And then they set this up as a Kalinowski conservation area is what it says on the, I'll blow it up till it gets there. But this is the area, portion of the school. Physical school is right in this area, right in here where I'm pointing. But so the Kalinowski conservation area, is, you can see the school now better, the resolutions come up. But this is the area that's been identified. It's just shown up within the last month or so on the GIS website. But this is the area that was identified by this Attorney General working with DEP for the conservation easement when they did this, the split with the Boulder Heights plus the Kalinowski to offset for the merit taking for the middle school.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, good question, because I forgot to mention this to everybody, that this has now been clearly identified on the town GIS. but it goes all the way down to the in other areas. Okay?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop sharing now.
All right. Now, might be a little premature on the post-publication plans because we haven't got the publication yet until next meeting. The item on the open space plan, what I got a bunch of different names, the outreach program. So we had a session on that, but I want to wait because Jessica was going to come later in the meeting, and is going to provide a lot of logistics to do that. So I'd like to defer that discussion until she arrives or joins it. And so I'd like to shift to the
Larry,
sections.
before you,
Yep.
I have a question. What's the distinction between the conservation plan and the open space plan?
There isn't. I kind of grouped those together. Unless Bruce, you had some different item.
No.
I thought.
No, they're the same thing, just more words for them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't think we had two different plans, but since there's two different names, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No. I looked at it. Went well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Let me.
Can I have
The section. Yep.
Very
I'm
quick
sorry.
question.
Right.
On the conservation plan, just wanted to ask Bruce if his department has been reviewing it.
Yes, I did forget to mention that when Larry asked about comments. We've been reviewing it. We actually have a meeting to finalize our comments on Thursday. So we should have them. It's Deb, John, myself, and Diane. We're all looking at it together.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right.
I have one question.
Tom.
In a similar manner, do we have any indication whether Parks and Recs or the Parks and Recs Commission have reviewed it?
I haven't received any comments from Parks and Recreation on the plan. I did on the ordinance that you did draft. I did receive some comments on that, but not the plan itself yet. If you'd like, I can send out a reminder to Parks and Rec to see if they have any. But,
I was just, it was just more for curiosity. I think we send enough stuff out. And if they don't want to comment, that's fine. I'm not looking for comments.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. So I extracted the section 7 actions. I converted them to a spreadsheet so we could sort and make it easier to edit, I guess. We do have a little bit of issue that got to get converted back for Bruce to kind of ship them out. But what I thought we would do, give me a second here, is this is the spreadsheet, and I sorted first on all the short-term action items. I thought as a way of, because there's a lot of them in there, that one of the things to do is to go through this in some organized way. And so I took all these short-term ones, and there's, I don't know, 10, 12 of them, and go through them. And I know that, since there's so many there, we're not going to do something on all of them. But at some point, we need to refine our prioritization and to start under responsibility, start to say which one of us on the commission, is going to take the lead on a particular action item if that's the way we want to go. So, so if there's no objections, I'd like to then kind of go down through. Is this readable, by the way? I tried to make the type big.
It's passable.
Yeah, it's a bit small.
Passable. Hold on. Let me do how's that?
Better. A little bit anyway, maybe.
Well, it's either yes or no. Oh, you're killing me. Hold on. So I went up, let me try one more. I'm up to 20 point,
Oh, that's better.
20 point. So now I got to expand these out. Whoops.
Ooh,
How'd that happen? Oh, that's midterm. Oh, that's why. Somehow, that shouldn't have done that on the, I don't know why that did that.
are you filtering and not sorting? This is Ann.
Yeah, that could be
I
from filtering.
guess I
filter.
filtered, yeah.
That's
Because
why.
what happens is sometimes I then can't unfilter, or I can't clean it. So that's interesting. Huh. Son of a gun. That was a filter and it didn't.
I have to step away 1 second. I smell something that smells like it shouldn't be. Like, later. I'll be right back.
So I'm not sure why that didn't work. Interesting. All right. Because what I thought I could do is just expand this. Let's see, like that one, so I can read it, or you can read it. Otherwise, it got. Sorry about this. I did this before when I made it bigger to 16 point. Okay, let me save that as is. All right. So, 2.7. Development open space management plan for the existing town-owned.
Open space, the
That
word
should have been
space.
open space, yeah.
Yeah.
So, to include inventory monitoring. So the thing, and maybe it's a question, I hate to skip around to get to the ordinance thing, but one of the things that I didn't see in the ordinance was it referred to a management plan, but it didn't define a management plan. So when we're talking here about an open space management plan, I'm assuming this is the generic template for a management plan which would be applied to various properties. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes.
All right. So
Yeah, if you go, here's the whole story as far as on why this action item showed up here. If you assume like the Land Trust Alliance, they recognize both municipal and private land holders for open space. And they have an accreditation process that is utilized by both municipal and private agencies. And they have their best practices. And in that best practice is that each of your properties should have a management plan developed so that you know what you're going to do with this property in the long term and what stewardship needs to be done with it on a year-to-year basis. And so that's really, and we agreed for a small, this is where we as the Conservation Commission need to be working with Parks and Rec in regard to what they're doing and what's in regard to what properties that the town owns that have a proper easement on it, that are established as a true open space, a conservation area. And then where is, if that's the way the town is handling that property, what's the management and who's doing it? Is it Public Works or is it Parks and Rec? Okay, in regard to what's the professional staff commitment to it. Okay, because we have a mixed bag of stuff out there today. Good example is, you've got a park such as Cop Park. It's very well marked and all this kind of stuff, and Parks and Rec is making, spending thousands of dollars on it. And then you've got the other open space such as Pequot, which has its own commission that monitors it and all this kind of stuff. And then you've got something like the Birch Plain Creek area, which is 70 acres of open space that nobody's doing anything with. It's just sitting there, okay? And so we need to kind of get a handle on it, property by property, identify which ones we're going to require some type of management with it based on its usefulness, its for hiking trails and public access and stuff. And also so this is why we put a placeholder in the action items for this section is to follow that best practice.
Okay, so I hear all that, but in order to make progress, it sounds like there's several action steps. The first one is have a supplemental document, which is a template for an open space management plan. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, and that's what we previously agreed that would be part of our 2021 actions and goals once this open space conservation plan was finally approved in 2020, and that we would start developing the stewardship actions in next year.
So is that really short term or midterm then?
Well, a short-term thing is anything less than 3 years.
Oh, okay. Michelle.
So this is Greg Tom. This is Michelle speaking. So my suggestion is that we have the steps that go with this, and to actually we might have a whole document that's just the plan to how to do this. And one of those steps is obviously the template, but the other step would be, I would like to see, and I'm not volunteering Tom to do this, but you seem to have this information. We actually should have a document that takes the list of our properties and spells out what's already there, right? What's already available along these lines, so that we kind of have a baseline of where we're starting with this process. That's my suggestion.
Well, I think, yeah, so, whoops, hold on. Oh, that's what happened. Come on.
Now, while we're
Yeah,
talking, Tom Olson again, while we're talking about this, and Larry's trying to update the spreadsheet, is that one of the key items in the draft open space ordinance is a delegation of these responsibilities for development of the management plans to the Parks and Recs Commission as opposed to the Conservation Commission. And so I think that's how come I haven't gone much farther than this, is do we get agreement that Parks and Recs is going to be basically doing a majority of this work and have the responsibility for these management plans before we invest. If we get stuck with some that Parks and Recs doesn't want, we'll be stuck with them as the Conservation Commission. Okay.
Well, okay, but in order to do that, number one is what an open space management plan means. Then it's our view, the Conservation Commission's view on the prioritization of which properties require an open space management plan. Getting to Michelle's point a little bit, is which ones should or shouldn't, all right? And then the third.
Larry?
Yep.
I mean, is Tom still talking?
I know.
Yeah, I think you're talking over Tom, because Tom talking, we're not hearing him. So you're both talking.
I thought he's finished.
I don't think he was.
I was
think
finished when I
Usurped him because you're the boss.
No, I would.
As soon as
okay,
you talk, you blank out anybody else.
Okay.
Okay, this is Tom again. I believe I said what I had to say was that I was just waiting to see, how far do we want to go as a commission here? Is waiting to see where we're going with the ordinance, so that we follow. So we don't duplicate our work in the long run relative to doing too much when it should be a responsibility of if the ordinance is put into place, that it would be a Parks and Recs responsibility as opposed to a conservation activity.
Somehow you're out of sync, because I thought I heard that
Strange.
before. And you're talking in video, but you finished talking in audio.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I don't think it's you.
Picture.
No, I don't think it is either.
Yeah, that's not working.
Yeah,
Oh,
must be a slow connection. I'm not sure.
all right. So he flipped out.
Yeah, I'll be back.
All right. But I thought we're kind of all saying the same thing. Is the definition first. Oops. Then after that was identification and prioritization of properties to require a plan. And then the other thing is who does it, right? Identify, oops, who is responsible to create the plan. I mean, I think that's what I heard between Michelle and Tom. I don't know, Tom, are you back?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I just turned the video off. Maybe that'll help.
Okay. All right. So is that the appropriate sequence of steps?
It's good enough for now, in my opinion, this is Tom Olson.
Other comments? I mean, then I'd like to get to step one, because I thought you had a recommendation for that, and the best practices for an open space management plan. Is that correct, Tom?
This is Tom Olson. Yes, I have it put away because I had drafted up this whole draft supplement early on a number of months ago. And so I do have that available.
All right. So would it be appropriate that says as an action item to get that back out to everyone, so at least we can start to look at it in terms of step one, even though we wouldn't get to it until we get through the final open space plan publication?
This is Tom Olson. I will take an action to take a look at what I did, compare it to what is in the ordinance to make sure that it's in sync, and then reissue that to you as an updated draft.
All right, so that step would be then so discuss. I'm just going to say discuss at next meeting. That draft.
Yeah, I can have that.
Okay. All right. Good. Now this one is the next one is we kind of did that. I think that was my comment. Didn't we agree upon that in the last meeting, and it's published in our document?
I think so.
This is Tom Olson. I agree that it is.
The
Okay,
status would
so
be completed.
yeah. All right, I like those. Develop an action. Yep.
This is Tom Olson. Before you say it's completed, it's technically. I mean, there's no action at this time.
Yeah.
Because the issuance of the plan it'll be completed once the plan's issued.
Official. Yeah.
Approved.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, yes, with that caveat, that's correct. As for today is criteria is out there. If we get comments and change it, then we can change it. But right now there's no work for us to do without additional input. And this next one, following on that, I mean, there is a set of recommendations and plans. And I guess the point is, and I'm now trying to recall, we didn't put a prioritization on how we were going to address, all the specific actions in those green belts and state green belts. So is that, assuming, again, back to getting the comments in, but after that, is that now then the first piece to then prioritize all the different pieces of the Greenbelt actions that are in the document? Michelle?
Yep, this is Michelle speaking. Yeah, I think I think we go back to the spreadsheet where we start looking at the properties that are under the Greenbelt. Well, first of all, we go back to the current Greenbelt, the way on the final plan, and then we look at those properties. And then remember, a lot of them we had to investigate to find out, who owned them, whether how they would go, information needed for the model. So all of that. So we need to take that list of properties. First of all, agree on that list, and then we have to do the investigation to do the analysis on them.
So we do have a list. We did not do the investigation as to the current status or potential. And we did a very preliminary one on prioritization. But I would think I'm trying to figure out how to translate what you just said into an action, which is starting with the list we have, we need to begin the investigation investigation of the prioritized properties. But the question is, we need the prioritization, I think, first. If we look at all the different potential Greenbelt extensions and connections.
I disagree. I think we need to get the information before we can to do a better prioritization. I mean, the original prioritization was just a rough, so we need to get better information to do a smoother analysis that then would then do the smoother prioritization.
All right, chicken and the egg. Here we go. So comments from other folks.
I agree with Michelle. I think we need more information before we can do the priorities.
From Tom Olson, I would recommend that we coordinate with the Parks and Recs folks, because they had already submitted the entire POCD Greenbelt system into the state greenways. If you get approval for the greenways, that gives you time and then a plan that you have to follow relative to where we're going. So if we're going to try to put a part or a portion or the entire Greenbelt system that's in the POCD into the state process, I think we need to sort out with that as a first step as far as where we're going. Are we going to resubmit for Greenway process, or are we going to just stick with the green belts as modified by this plan?
This is Ann. What's the timing on resubmitting and the decision-making on that?
I'm not familiar with it at all, because they submitted back in February of 2019. They were under the impression that they would get a decision sometime in the May-June timeframe of 2019. And I don't know what the decision was. I've never heard whether or not they actually received a letter or a disapproval or what.
So yeah, a couple of different starting points. So if we have a joint session with Parks and Recs to agree on the Greenway changes, because it is different, our plan is different than what's in the current POCD, then do what Michelle said and do an investigation, and then do the final prioritization, which swings back to Parks and Recs again. Is that, I'm trying to get the sequence down here, guys.
Michelle, that sounds reasonable for a sequence.
Is that the sequence you were thinking of, Tom?
I think as long as with the issuance of the plan, we then work with Parks and Recs to find out what they're doing with our changes. Are they going to resubmit? And then if they agree to resubmit, then do we have everything that they need to resubmit? And then we can go then we can start development of and put the prioritization as far as on which follow-on things do we want to do for each individual? Because they basically broke it into 3 greenways. Okay, they had different names from them, from Western, Central, and Eastern, and everything. So that's kind of, we need to make sure we're coordinating with them and what gets submitted to the state. I think that's, we were making a proposal with this plan, but we have to coordinate with the people that are actually doing the execution if they're going to go, if Parks and Recs wants to, and they've already, first come, first served to some degree relative to how here they've already, they've taken the POCD, and we're proposing is a change to the POCD to expand it and how they want to react to it. So that's, I think it's really critical that we work with them relative. It's really not necessarily our responsibility to get into the gory details of how and everything as far as what's going to be done here. I think we need to coordinate this more with the Parks and Recs folks.
So, so I think I added that at the bottom to resubmit the plan to the state. So we got to do the first one first.
Yeah.
Before we do the other stuff. Okay. All right. Is that seem appropriate, guys?
Yes.
It's good enough.
I'm seeing head nods. All right.
Yay.
Yay. All right. 2-1. If we get to, like I said, if we get through the short-term ones today, I'll be happy. So 216. Now this is a mouthful. And I'm kind of going this resiliency and sustainability task force. Do we? Wow, let me throw it out there for discussion on this one. My view is that should we not request input from the resiliency sustainability task force to identify parcels they think should be addressed rather than the other way around?
Well, yeah, this is Michelle. You got them as right. You have the other people as the primary thing. So I think it starts off talking to the people that we think are responsible. I mean, that's got to be the first step, right? We can't do anything without that conversation.
Well, that's why I was saying that, but the planning department was, I think, supporting getting the resiliency sustainability task force is input to them. So it kind of goes from them to the planning department. And then the question is, what can we do to help? Not the other way around. So I think I'm saying the same thing you're saying.
Yeah, we're not the top people on this. I mean, we might want to send them a letter saying, we recognize that this is important or whatever, and we want your input. I mean, we can initiate a letter or a memo saying, here's what we'd like to understand or get from you, but there's no action from us except for that, I think.
All right, other comments?
This is Greg. I agree. The work on this is Public Works, the Planning Department, as well as the Groton Resilience and Sustainability Task Force. We're there for consultation if they need it, but it's at a different level, coming from a different point of view, where the town thinks it needs to go, and then we can assist them if we can in that direction. But this is not something that I agree with Michelle that we have the big picture on this.
And that's in the form of, I guess we could do as a follow-on letter.
Tom Olson here. One thing from the staff perspective, I believe the planning department is the support staff to the resiliency task force, correct, Bruce?
I'm actually not, I don't believe so. I've never heard any one of our staff staffing them, so it could be through the town manager's office.
Well, yeah, I think the mayor actually kind of quasi chairs the reviews of them on an ongoing basis. So I don't know Tom, I'm not sure. I think it goes back to them, I think. Well, I guess I'm okay leaving it the way it is. If the commission would, authorizes me to do that letter, then I could at least kick it off and say, hey guys, we've completed the plan, you've got it. How can we help? I mean, a little bit more than that. Is that, do I have authorization from the commission to do that? I
Sounds
see
good
a
to
head
me.
nod from Kristen.
I guess,
Mich-
this is Ann, sorry. I guess I'm still confused on who's actually executing this municipal coastal program. It's not
not
really
us.
sustainability and resilience either.
Well, yeah, they are good. My understanding is they're going to provide input to the planning department and or public works.
So should
Come
it,
up with some, back to the town council. I'm just saying, how can we help? That's really, yeah.
so how can we help? Should that go to the planning department or to the sustainability?
Well, I think I think that when the sustainability task force goes into the planning department, it would help if we have either endorsed or support their recommendations, which is prior to actually execution, which is a different thing. That's kind of what I was thinking here.
Do we have any idea what their time frame is for that report?
They've canceled. I just went and looked at it. They've canceled the last
2 meetings.
2 or 3 sessions. About COVID, and they didn't meet. They were meeting in person, and they kind of haven't done it in a while. So I'm not sure. I think that's one of the things I could certainly ask. That says, what's going on, because you guys have kind of gone silent for a couple of months. So it kind of fits under the request the status thing. Right. I mean, show of hands to say you authorize me to go forward, or we could just let it sit here. Your choice.
It's fine.
Michelle, Bray, Kristen. Okay. So that's a majority. So via letter, and I'll say from chair. Oops, yeah, chair. I spelled that right. Okay. We're just zipping right along here. Gosha, continue support. Okay. I think we did support, again, some distant past. I thought we supported it. And I think this is correct. There's really no action at this point. So Tom, you're the GOSA. Oh, are you our GOSA? No, I'm the GOSA. Who the hell's the GOSA rep? I'm the GOSA rep. I should know that.
You're the GOSA rep, but I do have a lot of information from working with them on a regular basis.
Yeah, I guess the net is there any action for us to take?
At this point, no. I can give you an update as far as on where they are. They have they are working right now with with the state. They've had some legal problems because their lawyer died. But he has been replaced, and the new lawyer is catching up. He has one piece of paper that he owes to the state right now. And then the complete package will be ready for them to forward to the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
They're not looking for anything from the town at this point. And so they hope to be done by the end of December.
All right. I mean, I can as my interface thing. I can reach out and say, hey, is there anything in the foreseeable future that you need our help on?
But they've already,
Other than that, yep.
I can tell you there's no need to reach out because there's nothing at this point. They reported at their annual meeting on last Thursday, the status, and I'm just reiterating that to you. So it's out in public already.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I heard that, but they didn't get into a lot of nitty-gritty details.
No, the gory details are there and available.
Okay. All right.
They're not looking for anything. So this item was put in there just to recognize that Ghost is doing things and supporting them.
All right. I am thinking, Tom, by the way, that as we update this stuff, should we update section 7 in our final edition? Just a thought. Or just leave the actions in there rather than the statuses, because that document shouldn't be a status.
No, it's not. I don't believe it is in the actual you added the status column in this document.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, at least I'm consistent. Okay. Sort of. Okay. 72121.3B. My goodness. All right. What the hell do we need to do there? Southern Cross Connect.
These are individual, things in regard to changes that are in to recognize changes for the POCD to our recommended changes for the green belts.
So would that be see this one above? This one up here. C 2.12?
Oh,
This was the plan, and see, the 2.12 is talking about green belts and using the green belts to specifically connect to New London and to Ledyard. Okay, this one is a specific change from the POCD.
Yeah, we have planning department as the doer. We're not responsible for that one.
can I just intercede here? On this one, the connection where behind the Cutler School, there is a bridge that needs to be put in. And the Parks and Rec has not had the budget money for the last 5-10 years to put the bridge in. They've designed it. They have wetlands permission. All they need is the money to push the whole thing forward. And it's one of those, we need to encourage in the budget time for the town council to allocate money for this so we can get it done.
Do you recall how much that is, Bray?
40,000 maybe.
So the action then would be is support through the budget process. The approximately, where's approximate? I don't use it that often. I don't even have it.
This is
Oh,
Tom
well.
Olson. One other thing on this also, when I was out on the Tri-Town Trail on Friday with Mark Berry, and this subject did come up, and they are still working the grant lines. Okay, that's if you go back in time, this whole issue of why that they wanted to take all the green belts and turn them in greenways is that there's grant money for greenways. Okay.
Okay.
And this Tri-Town Trail portion would follow, and they'd use that type of reasoning. So that's why it's critical, from a Parks and Recs perspective, to coordinate with them in regard into this portion of it. And also, there had been a thought process was that because this is on school property, if there was additional funding left over as part in the slush fund of all the construction that's going on at the school, with the new school construction, that this would be part of the rehab of the fields and stuff. to make that connection across the brook there that's at the school. And so that he was also trying to work with the Public Works and the Schools Committee as another alternative here, because it would supplement their field constructions and stuff. So they were still, he's got those feelers are still out right now when I talked to him on Friday.
All right. Oops. Hey, I don't know why it doesn't stay up there. Stay up there. All right. 224. Establishing document review process of the Connecticut NERR. Well, August 4th has come and gone.
Well, this is Tom Olson. I did attend that meeting on 8/4. I found there were no issues worthy of providing public comment to the initial environmental impact statement that was discussed at that meeting. But it is still related to Groton, Avery Point, Bluff Point, Haley Farm are all part of that environmental impact statement. And so I've been monitoring it. And so, but there was nothing that, as far as at this point in time, that was worthy of taking any action, and they did not request anything of us.
Okay. Subdivision regulations. Okay, that one is on the agenda for today. As soon as we get through short terms, well, we're almost there. Then I was going to suggest we go to the two that Tom submitted, the ordinance and the subdivision regulations. So hopefully it's going to be reviewed September 14th. Okay. Okay, that one is an action item. It gets back actually to, in fact, I think Michelle's earlier comment is we need the data and we need to start doing the research. So that would be subsequent to that earlier one we talked about. Hey, Bruce, is it the assessor's office or do we have to go dig into the land records themselves?
It'd probably be both, honestly. I mean, you'd have to look at both different ways to access it. It's a lot of land records, but the assessor can help out with that too. And I do know land records right now is it's by appointment only. So if you did want to go in there, just give them a call and schedule it before.
All right. So basically, we got to, given the situation, I'm going to use you as the staff, the generic staff guy.
Okay.
Coordinate with Bruce for access to land records. I just say as required. So we got to get the list and we got to identify the properties before we can go look at it. All right.
And also, just to add on that, if you have some questions, there's a lot of things I can look at. I have access to a lot of different land records, so if there's simple things that you don't need a full title search on certain properties, shoot me an email and I can help with that too.
Okay, appreciate that.
Do we know of, this is Bray, Bruce, do we know of any lands that we do have recreational easements on?
Not off the top of my head, no.
This is Tom Olson. We do have a list in the Appendix E to the plan of the ones that the ones that we know for sure were the ones that where there was Oswald grants involved. Okay, so that's basically what comprised that list because the recreation and open space easements are required as part of that program. when those monies are provided to the easement comes with it.
Right, but that was state money, right?
Yeah, that's all the items with state funding. But
So,
I'm not aware of, at this point in time, of any, on that list of anything other than those state-funded ones, that there are easements, unless somebody, and I haven't looked at the list recently, but there may be one or two other ones that have been identified to me. But other than those, are the only ones that I'm aware of at this point in time. And that's why we have the action here that in the future to try to go through records to try to identify that as part of the process.
right, I only mention it because the Avalonia has several easements, and it it's not dealt with the same way as what you just described. So those easements are a lot of work, and I was unaware that the town had any recreational easements at all. But they would have to, if the town does have recreational properties that have an easement on it, they would be directly working with whoever owns that property anyway. And we wouldn't be in that loop necessarily.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I think our point was just to identify, were there any, in terms of taking action as a result of that investigation. I would agree gets flipped back to the planning department or public works, who's ever involved there. But I think the point that we wanted here, that we were going to, instigate is the wrong word, we're going to be the catalyst of, if there's something required to, to kind of push it. I think that's all we're saying here, not to actually execute.
Understood. I think, Ray, again, from Michelle's list, as we were talking earlier, as we're prioritizing potential other lands to protect, as we go down through, as well as looking what the town already has, that's not necessarily high on our radar, as we go through to see who owns them and whether or not there's actually an easement on them.
Okay, fair enough.
During our discovery time about that particular property.
Yeah, this one, I'm not, because you said 3 years, I'm still not sure this is short term. Because you got the Weltros property it's sitting there in the town council. And my view is they're not going to have an appetite to go for something fairly, soon after that, regardless. But I think we wrote that before that kind of popped up on the horizon here. So I'm not sure what we would want to do here short term, other than teeing up the next one to go after.
Again, why this was put into the plan is to force us, or at least to come up with a process of how we would coordinate with the assessors and the land records office in regard to having a mechanism as we move forward in other areas to develop these green belts. Okay, because those corridors are established through ownership by the town, ownership by land trust, putting it into a 490 or providing an easement. And so knowing which easements you have is part of going forward and developing future easements. Okay, so this was all, the action item was to get us to develop a means to ensure that if we need future easements, that we know what that process is, and then we have a clear understanding of what easements are already in place. so that we're not duplicating efforts.
Right.
So,
This is Michelle. A lot of these, are we still, we're all still on 732, right? Because also 733, a lot of this is developing the processes. So as opposed to having specific things, the point is to come up with a written process that here's how we're going to go about doing this thing. And I'm almost thinking we're going to have our own working supplement to this, that for each of these action items, basically develop that process. It could be 2 or 3 pages. When we do this thing, here's all the things that you take into account, here's how we do it. To actually almost have a manual, Conservation Commission manual for implementing the plan.
I agree with you totally. This is Olson. That was part of all the development for the 2021 plan, was to get that manual together for stewardship, because that's all part of the stewardship of the individual properties, as well as the expansion and development of the green belts to full execution.
Okay.
So here,
Yep.
I got this is kind of an overview idea, Larry, but this is Michelle again. I'm wondering if there isn't maybe a way to parse this out where the text committee, takes a shot at the stuff that's developing the plans, and the parcel committee, or whatever we are, takes a shot at developing the process for the specific property issues. And most of these can fit kind of with one or the other.
That's fair. I think we need to kick that off after we publish the plan. So I think that's going to follow on after our next meeting.
Right, but that's how. But what we're doing now is also true. I mean, what you're trying to do now is implement the plan that hasn't been approved yet.
Yeah. Yes. But we're sitting at a fairly high confidence level that's going to happen.
Right. So why not instead of trying to go through each specific one and come up with all these ideas, why not parse them out to who's responsible? So give the text committee responsibility to come up with an outline for these ideas, and have the parks committee come up with an outline for these ideas, rather than us trying to think of what, like, to try to do brainstorming all together now. This is the first time I've really thought more. Now, obviously, Tom's thought really carefully about this, but this is the first time I've thought really carefully about how to do these things.
What, Tom?
Yes.
What's your reaction to that?
No, I have no problem with that. But I take a look at the next one, the targeted acquisition strategies, which is really I look at it as a CIP process. I think we as a commission should be more proactive in making the recommendations to support the town manager's budget call process. But the town manager doesn't come to the Conservation Commission; he comes to the planning department. And the planning department is going to have to work through them to put some input in there relative to, with the budget, with the way the budget's developed now. They're supposed to be setting aside $25,000 every year, and then that builds up, and we have to have a recommendation in place. Obviously, there's the planning department went forward this past year with the Watros. They're going to need about $175,000 to close that deal notionally at this point. And there's about, somewhere around $75,000 in there. So where is this other $100,000 going to come from through the budget process? That we need to be able to take a look at that, and then also take a look at what's the next one in line as far as, and that starts taking a look at midterm and long-term actions. But I have no problem assigning something like that to the parcel team. we as a text team can take a look at 7.32 in regard to the process for development of the easements, and I'll take an action there. So I think as long as we take a look at kind of separating the workload, I have no problem with that.
Well, I can go down through this column and put data versus text, I guess, as a way of parsing this out. Is that the shorthand of your recommendation, Michelle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, well, let's get through this. We only got a couple more, and then I can go back and go through real quick, I think, and do that. Oh, we just talked about the budgets. I mean, some of these should be the commission in total, not individual subcommittees. And that's kind of what this is. This is working through the budget process. And I guess it's going to have to be are we a year ahead or year behind? I think it's the 2022 budget. Didn't we just come up with the 2021 budget, Bruce?
Yeah, it'd be fiscal year 2022.
Yeah. So I think we've got some time on that one. Protection ordinance. Okay, that one we're going to talk about. We're going to review today as well. So actually, we're going to review today. Issue the economic, that's completed. I did that. Bruce put it out there. Let's see. This was added, I guess, late. Public access to open space and public transport. My suggestion here is, given the other action item we're going to be talking about is how do we communicate? I would say include this in what are we calling that? What are we calling that thing? The outreach. We came up with an idea of having a trails booklet. So my suggestion is that would be included in that.
That makes sense.
So I'll have to explain that.
You mentioned a trails booklet. Isn't that part of the trail? And I guess this is a really question to Michelle, because she's our rep to the Trails Task Force. Is that part of the Trails Task Force?
No, this was
I don't
something that
think,
came up.
if it is, they don't know anything about it. So it certainly we can make a recommendation, but the Trails Task Force really is a loose conglomeration of people representing a bunch of other things. So the task force itself doesn't necessarily do things, but their member set groups do things.
Yeah,
Can I speak?
hold off on the discussion on this, guy.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about this because Larry and I had a meeting with, we'll talk about that later, right?
Yeah, with Jessica and Beck. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to keep this a little separate. So I think
Okay.
it'll come up in that discussion. So I think there's some good ideas there that I want to share with you guys. So we can either, oh no, we got to do the ordinance. We've got to do the other thing. And I guess we could go back through here and talk about, it's either Conservation Commission in total, it's data, or it's text. Is that the three different classifications here? This is our working document.
Yes.
I guess the way to quickly do this is have Michelle or Tom volunteer, and if neither of them volunteers, then it defaults to the commission as a whole. How's that as an approach?
That's fine. And for the first one, I've already volunteered for this one, so you already got my name on it for text.
So text. Okay. How about this one?
It would be data.
It's completed.
It's completed.
Oh, it's completed. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. What
Yes,
about
I
this
would
one?
say that would be data. then whatever, working with the Parks and Rec, if there's any part of us, it would be Data, I would think. Right, Tom?
Okay.
That's fine. That is fine.
This one was neither, so that's fine. Okay. This one. Uh,
That's the commission.
That's the.
yeah, that's a commission. Okay, I agree. Jump down to this one. View comment and establishment. Oh, the near process.
You can leave that with the text because I'm monitoring that one.
Okay. Let's see, this one. Subdivision regulations.
I'd say that's full.
Yeah, I think we need to do that together. I mean, I know Tom's doing a lot of work on it, but I think that as a commission, we need to address that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this
And
one
the
is,
steward.
as far as for the working with the assessor's office, I'll take the action to develop the process. So this is what you basically said.
Okay. Although it's kind
Okay.
of also data related, but the data guys would be the one executing it, I guess. But yeah, if you want to do the process, that'd be great.
Yeah, because that's what this is, process, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay. Now this is I don't know. Isn't that the total commission?
I think so.
Should be.
Yeah.
And this one is kind of the total commission as well,
Yep.
I think.
Mhm.
Town council and now the ordinance, this has two parts. And I think Tom was kind of working on creating the ordinance. So this is a one where it data, but then goes to the full commission. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, it's text and then goes to the full commission.
Yes.
So that's text, then that one's done. That's data, that's done.
I thought it was text that did that. It's a manual.
Yeah, but
Oh,
it was
geez.
Larry, so it doesn't matter who did it. It's done.
It's done. All right, Tom did review it, one of the reviewers, okay. Okay, that one is, I'll leave that as a commission. We'll come
Yeah.
back to that one. All right. Okay. All right. Hey, we made some progress here. All right. So we'll get that out. I'd like to, let's see what time it's 6. Rebecca, not Rebecca. Yeah. Jessica is not here yet. I'm assuming. She's not in the participants, right?
No, I've been
Yeah,
checking.
okay.
She's not here.
So I'd like to kind of switch over to the ordinance and the those two documents. Now, I'm trying to remember, were those, I know those were sent out. Is that in the handout? Bruce?
Yes, they are.
Okie dokie. So let me stop this. So would you like to do the share on that, Tom, or you want me to bring it up?
Well, you've got they're in the handout you just had up before, so if you can bring that up.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring it. Let me do another share again. Share and Acrobat Pro. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. I've got my copy here.
I'd recommend doing the subdivision first since it's a simpler one.
All right.
And it's on page 28 of the subdivision regulations, which I believe is on page 48 of the packet. Yeah, you got it right there. Because the only item that what the recommendation is to add in under the section 4.10, preservation of natural features and amenities, under shade trees, the applicant has to have so many every 75 feet, and he has to put new trees and all this type of, and the type of trees he can plant in. But then also to add, what my recommendation was to, is as pointed out here, is a overall, to take a look at the original tree canopy coverage of the area of the subdivision, and then maintain that after he wipes out everything, and let him present to the planning commission how he wants to keep that level of canopy in the town. He can either move trees around on the individual property, or make a proposal to add trees someplace else. Such as what we're seeing right now with what happened at the middle school, is that the Parks and Rec went off and got a grant to offset that, and is planting 600 trees at Sutton Park. Okay, the town is. So that's kind of how they're taking action to offset what was done at the middle school.
So, I mean, this is a heck of a statement. I guess a couple questions. One to Bruce, and the other one is the definitional one. Definitional one is, what's the definition of a tree canopy coverage? So let me hold off on that. But Bruce, how does this stack up against other towns? I mean, this is a fairly significant ad.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I actually, I was interested in hearing from Tom on where he found this, if he found it from another town, because
I did not find this in another town. I looked at some other towns that had tree canopy stuff, and principally it was out in Ohio, where they talked about it. And also just from the overall readings that I've done in other canopy stuff with the state of Connecticut DEP in regard to maintaining the canopy that we have within the state at the nominal 60% that we have statewide, and how they're monitoring it, and what actions that they're taking to preserve areas but they really haven't talked about it. But this is just from Tom Olson's common sense approach, saying, hey, if you're going to go into, if we want to maintain canopy, development is going to wipe out something, so you've got to offset it someplace else, and put the onus on the developer that's coming in to the planning commission to say, hey, if you're going to be, we've already told them you have to plant trees and stuff, so this is a logical expansion to make sure that we're getting sufficient to maintain the canopy level that we've got in the town right now. Because we agree,
Okay.
Everyone basically agrees that at the 61% total canopy coverage, it appears fairly reasonable amount, because we're consistent with what the state has, and the level that we see within the town, that we want to maintain what we have and not continue to lose it as future developments happen.
okay, yeah, just I don't disagree with the statements, and I think it's definitely a good goal to have into the regulations here, and developers can always do better about saving more trees, and staff can always do better about acquiring more trees too. But this might be more of it just seems like this would be hard for a lot of developments to meet, only because you have 10 acres of woods are undeveloped. We need to clean up the language on tree canopy and what that is, just with the definition. But some of that land is going to be lawn. It's going to be building footprint, and in order to kind of reclaim that into a canopy, I think would be challenging on the site, just because of the loss of canopy due to roads, utilities, housing, lawns, and things like that. And then also when you're planting new trees, you'd want to be mindful of the spacing too. I mean, so we'd have to kind of think about that, because depending on what species, how close to plant them together. So we actually want them to grow up and mature and be a mature canopy, and not compete each other and turn into a invasive area, really.
Well,
And
I think yeah, no, I hear you, Bruce. I think
Yeah.
part of it is, are there other areas, I think where Tom's going to go is there other areas in the town where they could plant trees, not necessarily on that property? And if there's not, then this becomes a pretty tough ordinance.
Yeah, that was where I was going to follow my next thought. Do we have some parcels that we can think of that don't currently have a canopy that are town-owned, state-owned, or willing to accept trees that we can default direction of those trees to, kind of target different areas to plant the trees, so we can tell the developer, if you can't meet this, we have space for you to plant them. So it's kind of, you can take it from there, Tom.
I have a question.
Uh,
Is it possible, on the landfill to start filling that area in with trees?
I don't think it's capped yet, though. I think we'd have to cap it
yeah,
first.
it's still venting
Yeah.
methane and other
Because
gases.
that would be a very good place to just start,
Yeah.
I don't
every
think,
Well,
developer that comes
I
in,
think
you
the
got-
general question before, I mean, personally, before I would support this, I would say, do we have a survey of the town and or state that says, here's areas which trees could be planted to provide a target? So if we've got 30 acres of places to plant trees, this becomes a hell of a lot more onerous. If there isn't any that we could place new trees, what's the developer going to do? So I don't know. I mean, so I think, Tom, I think we need to send this maybe to the planning department and ask a bunch of questions that gets some of these things answered, because I don't know how to even support it unless I would have a place to put that equivalent canopy.
well, I think one of the questions I have is, what is a tree canopy coverage now? And so as Bruce was saying, if I have 10 acres that it's all woods, and I obviously come in and I build my houses and I build my lawn or install the lawns and then have driveways, maybe a street or two, how are you going to match a tree canopy like that? And number two, when you're planting trees, you're planting small trees. You're not planting mature trees. So you're not going to have that canopy coverage currently. It's going to take years before you're going to be able to maximize that. And as you said, with developers, when they develop a subdivision, the last thing they do is landscaping. And that's the sacrificial calf for, if they get tight on the money, landscaping is the first to go. And they just put in quick lawns and with large rubble in it and so forth, and one tree and they're gone. So I understand the concept, but I'm not quite sure this gets it gets the problem addressed.
Other comments?
Hi, this is Anne. Are there areas in town with affordable housing that could use more shade trees? I mean, it may not be a large enough area, but just in the section of the plan, the open space plan, and I think, Tom, you wrote that section on the social justice issues, and certainly it would help to get more trees in areas like that. But I mean, in terms of large developments and having enough area to plant trees, I don't know what the balance would be. And I agree with Bray's comments. I was thinking, I wrote down next to that, new trees versus old trees, and how do you define that tree canopy? It's a little tricky.
Well, the state of Connecticut, in the research that I've done so far to date, the state of Connecticut has a process that they map out using the aerial graphics and stuff, and to come up with what your canopy areas are and as far as what's established right now. Because everything has been basically, and they basically establish, and the stuff that I looked at from Ohio is an established, what's it going to look like in 30 years, okay, based on if you plant now and that type of stuff. So there are mechanisms to take a look at this stuff. But again, it goes back to, is this really how much of this is Conservation Commission responsibility and how much of it's Planning Department and also the Planning Commission's responsibilities? I look at this as kind of like the plastics issue. You know, we kind of get stuck with being the advocates to start an initiative, but you know, you end up with economic development being involved on the plastics and stuff. And I think in this one, it's really going to be the Planning Commission and the Planning Department in regard for the implementation. I think, you know, we ask good questions. Are we asking something that's too far out there? Just like we asked with the plastics, how far do we want to reach initially here? We took it on at the request of the mayor about a year ago when she attended one of our meetings, you know, to take a look at the canopy when everybody saw, and a lot of it was in response to what we were getting from the public relative to, it was very high visibility when the middle school went away. You had the Merritt property there. You see the bulldozers come through, level every, 35 acres of land. What happened to those trees? When we're off here trying to do things and get to a net zero carbon balance and stuff. So, I mean, if you don't push the envelope somewhere here, that's what my initial recommendation is here, at least it's a starting point. I'm not going to say that it's going to, pass everybody, whatever, but I think maybe you have to put in some, approvals relative to what can be done and working with the town. Again, with the tree warden, he knows where all the trees are, where the trees aren't. And so I think that has to be a factor in here too, as far as getting other folks involved, and it's not just the six of us making a determination and this is how the ordinance is going to read, but it's at least giving up that initial words, initial idea, and to be able to express this and taking this action item and being the champions for this as other parts of the town change. And so this is why I'm going down this path as far as taking a look at what the ordinance says, keeping it simple as far as as a starting point.
I have a suggestion. I think proposing specific language might be slightly premature, but to your point on taking the leadership, i.e. the plastics, we could draft a memo with a specific request to the town manager, the planning department, copy the mayor and the mayor. We know the mayor is in support of this, by the way. I mean, that's she's a tree person. But maybe that says that what's our objective is to maintain, Groton's overall tree canopy coverage, and request that the town planning investigate different approaches to achieve that, rather than providing specific language in the terms of an ordinance. But let me just throw that out.
Well, this is Olson again. In regard to the why these words are already in an ordinance in place through the subdivision ordinance regulations there, and that's how I targeted this area because it already is the applicable area that's responsible for this portion of it, and that's but if we want to give a general memo and say target it with additional constraints to section 4.10.2 in regard to shade trees that and take into these kind of considerations be implemented and just have and ask the basically it's going to fall on Bruce to turn around and take a look at it, just like he ain't got stuck with the plastics.
Hey, yeah.
I'm already doing a similar exercise for our zoning regulations right now, and actually I'm looking at I'm kind of cleaning up the definition of shade trees and street trees and working on that. So it's really not that much different than what I'm doing. So
So, yeah,
it's something I could do.
yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's structuring a request, again, sponsorship, and getting the point that then we could participate and support a review of whatever recommended ordinance change would occur, or the subdivision language that would occur. Um, all right. I mean, I think, to go forward, we would need a specific uh, direction in the guise of a motion so that we could take action on it. So would anyone care to provide such a motion?
This is Ray. I would suggest we table this to look at this and see how we define tree canopy coverage before and after a subdivision. So, currently when a project comes before the town and they request to preserve certain size trees on the property during construction, or as this says, that you must plant other trees, and here's the specific trees that you have, that how does a tree canopy coverage play into this? So that going forward, we have something that's workable. So just to table this as for future discussions.
Other comments?
I just have a question, if I could, Larry.
Yes.
If you to make a motion to send out a request that the planning department look at this, I guess my question to that would be, so when it does come to the point where we think we want to go forward with a proposed amendment to the subdivision regulations, and maybe this is premature, but when I talk to other members of the department, if you do want us to look at this, would the conservation, what would the Conservation Commission's role be in I guess presenting the revision? Would the Conservation Commission be the applicant? Would you want town staff to be the applicant? Would you want the Planning and Zoning Commission to be the applicant for the revision? And if it's not the Conservation Commission, I'm assuming you'd probably want to have a vote to endorse it. I'm just not sure how that would work.
Well, we don't own this. We'd be an advocate for a change to an existing document which is owned by the Planning Commission, and thereby either go to that Planning Commission and provide the information and background on why we think it's important, why we want it supported, and why it should be done, and perhaps even with recommendations at that point. But before we get to that point, then a lot of the questions that were raised today need to be answered. What's a tree canopy definition? What's the tree canopy coverage today? What's the definition of old versus new? If we use the projected 30-year growth, to get to where the existing one is. I mean, there's a lot of questions to me that still need to be answered that I think the planning department should do. Now, you're kind of saying that you're kind of approaching this from the zoning perspective. So maybe that's appropriate. So that's why I said, asked for, some studies and some information based upon the fact that we believe in maintaining the overall percentage of tree canopy, however you want to define it, as a very high level goal from the Conservation Commission. That's what I was suggesting.
Larry, it's Tom again. One thing is, I think when he's asking about the advocacy of it or applicant for perspective, I think we have a responsibility as a tree advisory board to be the applicant for this, because this is all about shade trees. So in our role, you know, from our chartered responsibility, as far as going forward to the planning department and to the planning commission, because I think the planning commission has oversight and oversight of these regulations, if I'm correct. But we would just be applying and making a recommendation as an applicant to have this type of coverage.
So you're saying we have standing, if you will, to borrow a legal phrase, because of our tree advisory role, and would then submit a specific request to the Planning Commission to then execute.
Yes.
Or investigate, then execute.
Right. And
Okay,
we can
I
be,
think-
in our task, it could be very generic. Here's the, you know, the words that I have here in red is basically our goals. And let them figure out, put it in the necessary legalese to fit into this paragraph, the right words for the paragraph, but this would be our application would be that this is the goals that we wanted to see the regulations to encompass.
Could I ask a question of Larry? I mean, of Tom?
Sure.
The constraints on developing a subdivision include tree canopy coverage. So we're taking a new subdivision that's coming forth before the town and putting these recommendations as on top of everything else. What about once it's in place, subdivision is built and it's now become private property? And what encourages within the town of maintaining on private property or government property or municipal property to maintain a tree coverage? An example in place is Pfizer. Pfizer had some big buildings that they built for 10 years, took them down. What a perfect place to put trees in. Now it's just lawn. So there's an awful lot of areas, you know, gets into sticky wicket here about just being finite on a subdivision and not looking at, let's say, a bigger picture in the town of the overall tree quality and the number of tree canopies and so forth, maintaining on other lands other than just this one subdivision.
Well, as far as from my interface with the subdivisions, this is these regulations really affect in the planning department and working with the developers. And once they're put in, once the development is completed, these regulations have no further standing, because there's nobody going around today in my house and my neighbor across the street when they cut down the one tree that was put up there 25 years ago because it's fallen down or whatever. Nobody's replanting those trees.
Right, right.
So that's the things that I see is that that these regulations really don't. They're how you get the stuff built, and it's not how it's maintained, because there's no requirements today to be maintaining these regulations in place after the subdivision's complete. So these aren't all this is not applicable to over to Pfizer or any place else, or even to my Crosswinds here where I live. The rules were in place. The trees were planted out in front of my house. But nobody's going around and checking on this because it's all completed. The development's 100% done.
Exactly.
So this is just how do I at least control this today relative to here? But one opportunity is that if a developer sees other locations in town, he could go work with Pfizer to say, hey, I need to come up with 10 acres of tree planting. You've got 12 acres. Can I plant 10 acres here or cut out a deal or something like that? We'll let the developers worry. That's what from my logic was let the developers put the onus on them if they want to come in, how that they're going to maintain tree canopy.
Well, I think at some point you're going to have to pick out when they clear the land, and then now they have to put trees back in to look at the canopy, that you're going to have to come up and say, well, as Bruce was pointing out, there are certain things like the footprint of the house, the driveway, etc. You can't put trees back in there. What is overall annual planting young trees? And so you have a time frame, which you're saying that maybe in 30 years, we've recovered our tree canopy coverage for that subdivision. I don't know how you do that.
And that's the kind I'm proposing, that we just use these as the goals. I like Larry's aspect of saying that we have standing going before the planning commission. Let them figure out the gory details in regard to how they want to track it and everything. But at least we've put our marker down relative to going forward and keeping the goals fairly, maintaining the canopy, and keeping it in the town. You don't plant trees in South America, okay? I mean, that's an alternative. There are people right now that for $10 you can buy, X number of carbon units or something like that, and planting trees in Brazil or Costa Rica or wherever. I mean, that's another alternative we could look at. I was looking to take a look at maintaining the canopy within our town at the 60%.
Nice, speak up. Yeah, I think that's a really good goal. I think maybe it's a little bit of a complex issue that we need to explore further. So like, as a few people have said, there's the option of private, trees being planted on private properties. It could be in shopping malls. It could be who knows where, but maybe this is something we need to kind of kick the can down the road a little bit, or table, as somebody said, for further analysis later on. So get something in writing that just says like, this is going to be revisited.
Well, we either table it or we provide an objective into the planning commission to have them investigate and provide some feedback to us. But I'm like I said, I'm looking for a position or recommendation to go forward, because we've been kind of going around the same discussion here for a while. So what's the druthers?
Can I make a motion that we ask Bruce to look into this? And then from his perspective in the planning department, how they think this might work?
Is that just by request in the meeting, or are you thinking something more formal that goes on the record? This is your motion. I'm just looking for clarification.
You can put something on the record just to say that we've, this is the action that we've taken with it.
This is Michelle. I'll second the motion.
Let's have some discussion. So Bruce, you might have some input to that.
I would just suggest that you direct it to planning staff, not me individually. Because I do have supervisors, so I can't completely dictate my workload. But other than that, I think it's fine. I don't see any problem working with the other planners in the office to try to see, what we can do. But like I said, the way it's drafted right now, it needs some work. Or I think we could recommend it as a department. We can look into it. I'm not saying we can't.
So, Bray, are you amenable to amending your motion to that?
Absolutely.
And Michelle, are you willing to second
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we have
Could
an
we just-
amended motion. Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna clarify the motion?
Yeah, I can read it. A motion to have staff look into the subdivision regulations to address, yeah, I was just gonna say the issue that was brought up tonight, or the section that was
Of
brought.
maintaining tree canopy coverage for the town.
Yeah, I could
that's
say that.
clear. Maybe we should add the percentage in there that we're trying to maintain. Because you say maintaining tree canopy coverage, like, oh, well, we have 20%, we maintained coverage. You think if that was the specific number in there?
I don't think, I don't know what the specific number is, but
Oh, it was 61.
Yeah, I thought
no,
the
it's a
idea was just
state.
get information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Other
right.
points of discussion? All right, let's call it for a vote. So just to make sure we do it, could you read it one more time, Bruce?
Sure. So motion to have staff or planning staff look into subdivision regulations to maintain town's tree canopy percentage.
Could
All
you
right,
just add in the
call for
word
a vote.
maintain current canopy percentage?
Maintain town's current tree canopy
What?
percentage.
Anyone object to
This
that?
is Michelle. I don't understand why you're doing, I don't understand why that matters, because the planning staff is gonna get information, bring it back to us, and then we'll talk about it. I
Okay.
don't understand why adding more detail adds anything.
Okay, I just want to make sure they don't think that we maintain some percentage. It does, then not this, the point is to maintain the same, so we can talk about it later, sure.
All right, I'm gonna call a vote. I'm going down the list that I have. So Michelle,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Ray, are you voting on this? Aye, that's an aye. Kristen?
I don't know where my hand is.
Yep.
There it is. All right.
There's your hand. Tom?
Aye.
All right, so I'll also go aye, so that's unanimous. And now the communication methodology here, Bruce, is it sufficient in the minutes and you'd carry forward, or do we need to write a specific standalone letter?
You can if you need to. I mean, I'm just gonna email John and Deb tomorrow and say this is a request from the commission.
Okay, all right. I think that would, yeah, just copy me on it
Yeah, I can CC you.
so we can get it into the record. Okay,
Yeah, and then it will be in the minutes, obviously.
yep. Okay, so Tom, that was part A of your two-part discussion. The other one is proposed open space ordinance.
Yeah, and that's going forward a couple of lines here. Yeah, you got that on page
Whoops,
55, right there.
there we are. Yeah,
Now, based on the time, it's already 7 o'clock essentially. We're 2 hours into the meeting. I don't know if people have had an opportunity to go look at these. We've had these, I've got the draft as of July 1st on it. We've been using this, and it's been unchanged since I originally drafted a number of months ago. Because I thought we were going to talk about this in July. But I know Bray has read it and had made comments that he was concerned about dogs and this type of stuff, if I remember, and some other issues. But I didn't know if rather than trying to walk through this item by item, if people had constraints, or do we want to kick this down another month because of the time? Or else maybe potentially have a separate a special meeting on this issue in a couple, like in 2 weeks or something.
This is Michelle. I like the idea of a separate meeting on this, because this doesn't seem like a short discussion.
Ray?
Tom, I made a quick read of it yesterday and came up with more comments on different elements to it, but that was the first quick read. So I'd like to go back and rethink out my comments and so forth. But would I send the comments on to you so that, let's say, at a future meeting we're presenting this, either you change it or you can add this as a comment about that on this particular section, subsection, and so forth? How do you want to do that?
Let me ask a question to Bruce again here, because we're looking at, just give you some just refresher history real quick. I took the physical ordinance of Connecticut, and that's it's already sectioned off, and everything looks like a regular real-time ordinance here. And I just went through and changed Groton, Cheshire to Groton. They did not have a separate conservation commission. They had it as a different organization in the town. And those were the only updates I did, was just to make it Groton specific because of our structure. That's the only thing I did to this. Everything else relative to, do you want drones or whatever? I didn't try to change anything relative to that. So I don't know if this would have to be really gone through to the planning department first, in regard to the gory details of something, or do we want to try to get this as pristine as we would like to see it and then turn it over to Bruce? I don't know, Bruce, if you have any comments on this. You've seen this already.
Yeah, no, I saw it. It's more of a Parks and Rec ordinance than it would be planning department ordinance. I mean, we could certainly give a look at it. We have the town attorney look at it too. Just the way you described it. I mean, we need to format it to find a certain section and place in our ordinance and make sure it looks the same as all the other formatting for our ordinances. That doesn't need to happen now before you all, get your comments together and convey what you want. I think it would be best to try to get some comments and have more of a finished product and have us review it.
Well, then it sounds like it's still a text item for the tech committee. So I would more than welcome taking comments from Bray, Michelle, and everybody else here, and coordinate putting those together and for a special meeting, and have a draft, a revised draft for a September draft available based on comments from everybody.
Well, is there an agreement to have a special meeting on this topic, or to defer it to our next, still doing what Tom says, but defer it to our next regular meeting? Druthers on that?
You know what, maybe a special meeting, only because these meetings tend to go on and on and on. And sometimes if we just have a special meeting, we can focus on one thing and get it done, but it may be too much for a general meeting.
I'm for a special meeting. This is Tom Olson. I'm for a special meeting right now, because the next meeting, we're going to be trying to get through all the comments from everybody at the October meeting. I know I'm going to be gone or remotely calling in for the November meeting, and then we're heading up against the end of the year. I'd like to get this thing out of here before the end of the year, also to at least get the process kicked off as a 2020 issue, because it does have a lot of impact, and we've already started the discussions with the Parks and Rec. I know we've provided this draft over to them already, but if we have updates, I think we owe it to the Parks and Rec people to get them to them, and I think that's having a special meeting is the way to go in 2 weeks.
All right, show of hands for a special meeting. 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, I guess that's all right. So Bruce, would you put together a special meeting on the proposed open space ordinance? I guess it's, a couple of weeks out.
2 weeks will be the 28th. But that's only 1 week before our next commission meeting. That's okay, right?
Well, as long as you guys are okay, that's okay. I know this next one is coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Unless you want to split the difference and do something either
Next
midweek
week?
or next week. It depends if Bray's how long, who else is gonna have comments if Bray, as long as I can get something from Bray this coming week, we can have it by Friday. If he can have his comments, I know I can process his very quickly. And have something, because you need to have something out by Friday morning to get a Monday meeting together. So as long as I get them from Bray by Thursday evening, I can have it so the question is to Bray is, will you have your comments together by Thursday so we can have the meeting a week from now instead of 2 weeks?
I can have them to you by Thursday night.
Okay.
We're talking the 17th
18th.
or the
Oh.
24th?
So the meeting will be the
Thursday.
21st.
All right, so comments by the 17th with a meeting on the 21st.
Right. I think we still have enough time to make that meeting around the 21st. If you put through the process tomorrow with staff.
I may have a conflict on the 21st, but
It doesn't have to be a Monday either, does it? I mean, it could be a
No.
Wednesday or
Nope,
something.
could be any day you want.
How about
I mean, I'm
Thursday, the
okay for the-
24th?
Thursday the 24th, we don't have meetings. That's a good night for staff.
Reserved for staff.
Well, we just have a lot of meetings that week, so
Yep, okay. 22nd?
24th.
He just said he couldn't. He did.
no, I said 24th is good.
24th is good.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. All right. Sold. All right. The last. Hold on. Let me go back to the.
All right, special meeting Thursday, the 24th, 5 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We did have a. Let me go back up here.
Becky was here a minute ago. She left.
She couldn't take us, huh? Okay. This was her section here. All right, so we had a meeting between Chris and myself, Jessica and Becky, on what do we do next in terms of advertising and communicating the open space plan. And that was sent out there. And real quick summary is, we said there's the message, the specific content that then is used through the variety of channels. And so the document has in there basically the value propositions from the open space plan, right? So that's from the plan. I did add one that's ensure open space is respected. That deals with people leaving trash and other material that's out there, and also what I call trail etiquette and other things. So I threw that in there, and that's for discussion. And the yellow was based upon the subcommittee's view that said if we go forward in this, then we'd do it in chunks. The first chunk would be a high-level presentation, and we're talking about 2.5 to 3.5, 4 minutes. We're talking about very, very high-level summaries. Taking one use case, we thought hikers was the widest, let's say, participation. Channels was all down here. Now, this section here, availability of Groton trails, we went through it and said there really isn't, let's call it a document or a single place that you can find out the trails. You go online, there's an online trails, but you can't, unless you take a snapshot of it yourself or try and read it on your phone, there's no real thing to take with you when you're going on a trail. I know I wind up fudging it, all right? And taking pictures of some of the trail things and then trying to expand them. It's a little cumbersome. So we thought that maybe would be a nice thing to have is not just the town trails. By the way, you go to the town website, it's only the town trails. It doesn't have the Avalonia and Gosha trails and those kind of things. Is create a Town of Groton trails booklet as a way of advertising open space. And that's something which would be useful to folks. And in fact, one could even envisage that we charge for it to recover the cost of creating such a booklet. So that was real quick. Becky, who joined and then left, was certainly willing to do some video editing and some other things to get it out through some of these channels. But if you've had a chance to read this, what we're really were looking for from a subcommittee point of view is to get a commission agreement to support this as a way of or a follow-on to the conservation open space plan. So let me stop there and ask for any questions or comments, and we can get through this hopefully quickly. Tom?
I have no, I understand we need to push out on our education of the community relative to the open space conservation plan. But I'm a little questioning right now that this has gotten into the targeting case usages and stuff and where that's all going. Because, I don't want to start getting on other organizations' responsibilities and, take on too much that we shouldn't. I think, getting involved in flyers and all this type of stuff, when you already have a trails task force and Parks and Rec responsibilities in a vast majority of this area, I just kind of question, are you taking on, because I look at the guide to hiking trails from the website, from the GIS website, it has all the trails marked on, whether you're on Pequot or Campbellwood or for the GOSA properties or the state property of Bluff Point is all there. And in reality, we as the Conservation Commission are not trying to be a trails task force. And so that's why I'm kind of questioning where this is all going. Relative to,
well, the Parks and Recs would be the executors of this on that particular point. And they would support that, not us. This was just a mechanism to say, here's one use of open space and try and get some information out there. And it isn't in one spot. I mean, I've searched all over to get this stuff, so it's not necessarily straightforward to get. Anyway, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm just curious, what's the point of all of this? Like what, first of all, going along with that, I don't see our job as to be encouraging more people onto open space. That's not the conservation. To me, the Conservation Commission is conserving the open space itself. My personal bent is more towards the environment, not people anyway. So us encouraging more people to go there is not, to me, necessarily the best way to do our job. So what exactly is the point you're trying to do with this?
Well, the point is, go ahead, Kristen.
Oh yeah, just that the ideal being that the more people, like during the pandemic and so on, people have been really accessing open space in ways that they never have before. The idea was to, first of all, bring out the work that we did on the open space plan and make it more palatable and digestible to people as a whole, because it's a dense document that most people aren't going to pay attention to. So this was a way of sort of publicizing it, but also part of the rationale, and I think we were working with Jessica at the planning, at the Parks and Rec, is that if people start to use open space, they appreciate the value of open space. So I think it's trying to raise awareness of the value of open space in the community. So that had something to do with then reaching out to different demographics and targeting different types of users as a way of just getting the word out there about how valuable our open space is. So that's where this is coming from.
You want community support to spend money because
Right.
it's town
Need
budget.
money. Yeah.
You need money.
Uh,
So that was.
Okay, so this is Michelle again.
Yep.
I can see how getting the word out. I mean, the first part, the high level presentation, getting the word out, I get that. I don't know that we should be in the minutia of all these other things with people. I'm not sure that's our job, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yep. I think we're support on this. I think, again, this was a meeting we had with Parks and Rec, and they are specifically requesting, they want to publicize and raise awareness about open space. And so I think they're just trying to work in conjunction with us. Is that how you read it, Larry?
Yes, specific. Well, certainly on that one is that they're I guess the advertisers and the logistics to do a lot of this stuff. I think the message on the overview, the high level presentation, that's our job because that's trying to convert, the open space plan in general to a digestible, very brief. I won't say document because it may not be a document. After that, it becomes targeted and specific, and other folks would actually execute under the overall, support and guidance from us as the support for open space in general.
Can I comment also, this is Kristen again, that I think we would rather have input into how open space is promoted and marketed rather than just let it stray away. I think it's good for us to have some level of input as to how it's presented and, perceived.
So this is Michelle again. What is the actual request for the committee? What are you asking us for tonight, I guess, is my question.
Well, we're asked for support. There was an overall recommendation to do several things here, right? One is, do we want to do a alternate format to what's there in this 100-page document to get out the message, the value propositions of open space? I mean, that's a high-level presentation to, in effect, get the word out in general. That's like the very first thing. Secondly, there are some specific use cases that we wanted to support the appropriate agency, and mostly Parks and Rec, to then show how open space is used by the community, and in fact demonstrates the value propositions that we kind of put in that overview, to say go forward and support a plan to do that. We don't have the specifics yet, but this is kind of was the starting place.
Okay, so this is Michelle. So we had already agreed we wanted that smaller. We agreed we wanted a public friendly document that's smaller than our whole thing. We as a commission already agreed that we wanted to do that. So I'm guessing that's what your first piece is you're talking about, is reaffirming that we're going to do this summary document for the general population.
We're saying it may not necessarily be a document per se. Exactly. It might be a different media.
Yeah.
Right, but we can talk about what that is, but you're not asking for input on that right now. So we need to decide what that is. I agree. But this whole other new piece, when you say support this, what do you mean by support? What's our action that you're calling support for this other stuff?
Well,
we had that meeting with Becky. Becky, who was just recently on this meeting and then left again, who was a person who was a community volunteer. I believe she's applied to be on the commission. And one of her things is social media, because, not very many people are reading documents anymore. So if you actually want to communicate with the public, how you do that is via websites, via Instagram, via Facebook, the other medium. And then once you're going to communicate with the public, well, you need to have some content. And so we're kind of saying, okay, if we have a website or Facebook page or an Instagram, what kind of content do you start to target on that page And it's this kind of stuff, you know, it's photographs, it's having, and then pulling community involvement where people in the community can put a picture in there, or we put a picture in there and say, where is this in Groton? And people can respond. So it's kind of creating buzz and interest, but not just some document that's going to sit in a drawer, because honestly, the majority of citizens are not going to look at a document. So I think the idea was to bring it alive and make it a useful document, not necessarily in the form of text, that people can actually access and interact with and share and all that kind of stuff. So that was the thinking behind all this.
Right, but you're not, Michelle, you're not, there's no recommendation here to have that, to what that actually looks like. So now that you're telling me
It says
that.
right at the bottom, it says channels, how to deliver the message, content, formal town website, brochures. Okay. You're waiting.
All right, so this is still a high level ideas. So what are you asking us for at this meeting right now?
I think we're just informing you, right, Larry?
Okay.
Well,
Well, that's fine.
well, wait a minute, we got a direction here. So we don't want to go forward and spend more time if you go, I don't like the whole direction. So the direction was to not necessarily focus on a document per se, right? But to focus on alternate channels and approaches. Might include a document, and we might need to go back to the town council with something. But the more the emphasis was on getting to the community through social media, videos, and other mechanisms, which is different than what we talked about, right? It's not just, oh, gee, create a 10-page PowerPoint presentation that summarizes our plan. That's not going to, you know, we didn't think that's going to go anywhere. So that was, you know, kind of a shift in direction, and we wanted to make sure, or we wanted to ask, did we have the commission support to go do that?
Okay, so again, Michelle, if I understand. All right, go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, Tom hasn't had a chance.
Well, no, I appreciate the effort that's been going into this so far. But what I'm getting a little confused with is what portion is Parks and Rec, because I look at them as the advocacy people to get you out into open spaces and all this type of stuff, and what's the Conservation Commission's responsibilities here. I understand we have a responsibility to ensure the message that Parks and Rec sends out is maybe vetted through us to ensure that we understand what it is. And if they're willing to say, hey, one of our next advertising foray into the community is going to be advocating, it's going to be the open space conservation plan centric messaging that we want to send out. And we want to come to the Conservation Commission, make sure that since you're the authors of it, that we're representing this correctly as we go out and put TV spots together and maps and presentations and Facebook postings and all this type of stuff. I don't have a problem with working with them if they're doing the legwork. And I think as long as I understand that we're just they're going to ask us, is this the right way to present this? And they kind of just chop the stuff through us on a way forward. I have no problem with that. That's my comment.
Could I add a comment? It's Kristen again. I think this is somewhat collaborative, and maybe not with everybody on the commission. I think Larry and I had expressed interest, and again, though, Becky, if she's on the commission or gets appointed or not, was interested. So I think it was just, it's not, at this point, I don't think it's clearly defined. I think you could say it's a collaborative effort, and you know, we're not 100%, we're not taking charge of it, but we'd be working with Parks and Rec. I think they'd be carrying the burden, but we'd certainly be working with them. And the thing is, once you get a social media thing going, then you start to get people in the town contributing. It can kind of take on its own life. Then you just need like a moderator, you know.
But here again, you're saying that the Parks and Rec staff people would be the responsible moderators and stuff, not falling back on the Conservation Commission and burning our time.
Correct. That would be the objective.
Gotcha. Appreciate that insight.
This is Michelle. I think it sounds like this is like a subcommittee. So yeah, Kristen, I'm not suggesting you don't do any of this. I'm just saying this sounds more like a personal interest liaison subcommittee thing rather than a full Conservation Commission issue.
Yeah, most likely.
I have no problem supporting that.
So, as long as we don't ask you to do anything, is that what you just said?
I think we have enough. I mean, we are not even getting through our agenda anymore at these meetings. We don't need to add more stuff until we get stuff done. The stuff that's our specific responsibility.
Okay, so I perceived that it was part of our responsibility to communicate the plan that we've made, this big plan that we've worked 2 years on. Aside from just, presenting to the town council and thumping down a document, I thought we did have some responsibility to actually communicate this to the community more. I perceive this as part of our responsibility.
Right, but creating a whole social media thing is a totally different level than putting together a smaller document that we can give out to people. That's like a 2 orders of magnitude more work.
Mm-hmm.
Which if you want to do it, that's fine, but it's not our job to take this and turn it into a monster.
No, but we had a meeting again with Becky, right, Larry? Who was a community volunteer who was willing to take on a lot of it. She desires to be on the commission, but whether she is or isn't, she is a very highly experienced social media person, has done like very high level social media work, and was interested in approaching this avenue. So.
Right, but it's still not our job to oversee that level of effort, is what I'm saying, necessarily, in my opinion.
Ray, you had raised your hand.
Just 2 observations. One, I would say I'd like to see Becky some more of the working she has in mind for presenting this thing out to different groups of folks out there through social media. How she might take the elements of the plan and make it into something digestible for the general public that's out there. And if it goes well, I think we'd all rally behind it. We're always looking for a way to promote open space. And one of the ways that we promote open space is the trail system. And we certainly have seen since the spring, COVID-19, that all of our trails have gotten much higher usage than in the past. I'm not sure that telling everybody that the Groton Conservation Commission has an open space plan is more needed as telling people more about being able to get out and enjoy those properties. And that's been a problem, I know, at the Trails Task Force meeting on the trails and sort of the history of the Trails Task Force meeting. One was better mapping. And so the town has put together, and you go to the town's website, and then you can go to the maps to see where the trails are. All that's come out of the Trail Force meetings, information about where we should go, what can we do, that was then given to the Parks and Rec Department, since Mark Berry is the head of the Trails Force task meeting. And with the money he has and the staff he has, that's what he has come up with. And I think a lot of what we want to do to publicize open space and the use of it is Trail Force task meeting seems to be a very good outlet for developing this. But to take it to the next step, to get onto social media, that would be something that if we had somebody without those skill sets that we knew and could help us out, is all to the good. And it's just another avenue to advertise what we have to offer that's out here, so that when we talk about open space, we talk about trails, and the citizens of the town have to vote on whether or not to purchase open space land to add to this, that they've already been on other trails and they have a favorable opinion about those trails, and say, yeah, we should add on to it. And I think that's, to me, that's eventually where we want to go. So I would say
Okay.
this tonight is to say, could we see some of these things that you want to develop, these programs, these messages, however long they might be, to get people interested in the trail systems and open space we have in the town. I'd like to see a little bit more on what that might look like.
All right. So what I'm hearing is continue forward, like to see some examples, make sure that there's an ownership by parks and reps for continuity, et cetera, or perhaps more involvement by the Trail Force Task Force on at least the use case for hikers and trail use, but continue going forward. Is that a sense of what I'm getting from the commission?
Larry, this is Tom Olson. Do you feel, since you and Kristen have been doing this, that you need like a motion from us to say that there'd be a messaging subcommittee to coordinate with the Parks and Rec Department to advocate for public education of the open space plan with the initial membership of Larry and Kristen? Would that is what you're kind of looking for, to kind of codify?
Yeah, is that a motion, Mr.
Sure.
Olson?
Unless anybody else wants to join. Ann?
Well,
you're already gonna join?
careful. We can't have more than two.
Oh, we
I'm
can't?
sorry, we
okay.
can't have more than three. I'm sorry, we can
Yeah.
have three.
The only reason
Just
I
checking.
left too, because you've got this Becky person coming.
Well, she's not a member yet, so so I don't count her in the
Hopefully,
quorum
I don't know if
count.
she's applied or has been,
Yeah, she's applied. They're sitting on it. They got 4 candidates now, and I don't know. Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor? Signify by raising your hand. All right, that passes unanimously. All right, we will continue and provide feedback to you. Jessica was supposed to show up from Parks and Rec, given we've talked about them a lot, and we'll have to circle back to her later in the week. All right, I think we've made a lot of progress here. We've gotten through everything on the agenda except tax abatement. I mean, I'm for tabling that and looking for an adjournment to the meeting. If someone would like to make that motion.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Don't we have a report from staff and the discussion? Don't we have a report from the staff and chair? Or you guys not have anything?
Oh,
Bruce, have anything?
The only thing I have is that I renewed the membership for Kakiwick for the year, but there's no in-person conference. But the commission is a member again.
Thank you.
That's I think that's all I had to add.
Oh, could I just add briefly? I had a meeting with Jessica after Larry and my meetings with Jessica regarding this. She and I had a separate meeting regarding implementing the pollinator pathway, and out of that, they're looking for a program. So I forwarded to the town council the pollinator pathway program, because I'm the point person on the commission on that. So I sent it out to the town council. I got a thank you from Conrad. That's all I heard from anybody. So, but we were looking to put something in place for next spring, since this last year was lost cause, but maybe over the winter putting in some foundation stuff. So I'm just reporting that I did that.
All right, thank you. Anything I had came out during the meeting, so I didn't have anything extra. All right, there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. No further discussion, but call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion
Aye.
passes. We will see you at the special meeting to discuss the ordinance, open space ordinance on the 24th.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You can stop recording, Mr.